Hello and welcome to the France24 interview. Our guest today is MoulayHicham El-Alawi, the cousin of the King of Morocco, Mohammed VI, and he's also a fellow at Stanford University. Hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Many people are wondering, are we witnessing the spring of the Arab people?
Well, we're definitely witnessing something new. This is a change of paradigm. This is a situation where Arab youth in particular and Arab populations across the region are saying, we are not an exception. We do not want to stay an exception. We have the right to democracy, and we want to build our own democracy. So in that sense, I think it's something very new.
Were you surprised?
Extremely surprised, in the sense that nobody 2-3 months ago would have thought that this exception would blow into 1,000 pieces and that the Tunisian regime would fall.
I mean, is it really the Tunisian regime that was the biggest surprise for you?
For me personally, yes, because it's a closed regime with a very strong security apparatus that was everywhere and that sunk its claws deep into the fabric of society. And I was very, very dubious that something would happen there. For Egypt, it was clear that something was gathering steam there and that it was a question of time.
And what about, we see events in Libya, in Yemen, in other places. I mean, do you think this will keep on going for a long time?
I don't know if it'll keep on going for a long time, and I don't know the outcome. The outcome can be contestation for a prolonged period of time. The outcome can be political breakthroughs leading to transitions. They can be protracted political arrangements that are neither here nor there. I mean, the space of outcomes is wide. But what I can say is that this is something new, and business will never be as usual again.
What was the key factor, the role of the army? There's been a lot of written about the fact that the army eventually sided with the people. Is this really the key to the changes?
Well, as one would say, every political moment happens with a default by the security apparatus that refuses to shoot. So that is ultimately what leads to the downfall to the regime. But other things are acting as, of course, structural variables. The fact that people are extremely discontent, the fact that there is a lot of nepotism in the systems, the fact that people basically want some change and they do not live in a closed environment anymore. They are exposed to all sorts of ideas everywhere. So ultimately, yes, the regimes do break because the security apparatus refuses to uphold the system.
But at the beginning, there's the youth. I mean, for you, is it really a youth movement, or it's more complicated than that?
No, I believe that this is a big factor here, because I believe that we are dealing with new generations that are extremely fluent in IT, and that is information technologies, and can propagate their message and mobilize very, very fast. They are new generations in the sense that there's no ideology with them. They're neither Islamists nor nationalists in the traditional sense. But that has a problem.
What are they?
They are products of the 21st century. They are extremely articulate and extremely that are living in complete congruence with the world we live in today. But that has problems. It has problems in the sense that there has to be a passage to organize political parties if the outcome is ultimately to be democracy. If this is just about opposition, then they can only give whatever regimes a hard time. But to transform it, you need the capacity to bargain. You need a capacity to strategize, to ultimately institutionalize.
That's maybe more difficult.
That's very complicated, and that is what's lacking. And you see it in the Egyptian situation. In the Egyptian situation, you have the army, which is the backbone of the regime. It stayed. But ultimately, one needs to apply pressure with coherent political agenda. And my fear is that once the dust settles down, that business as usual, of course, it'll be in a different form, it'll be much more supple, but that we enter business as usual, and then precipitating protests in the streets only when people feel betrayed. But in between these discrete moments, no continual pressure intelligently applied for results.
Do you think the West has been misreading the Arab world for years, saying on one hand you have an autocrat, on the other hand you have radical Islam, and in between there's nothing, so you have to choose?
Well, let me tell you something. The West has been obsessed because of September 11th with fundamentalism. Everybody, not only the West, has been misreading the situation. You would have asked me this question about 2 months ago. I would have said, well, change may come in discrete or in specific scenarios, settings, but I would never have guessed that this would take the form of a wave, literally spreading across the region. This was unimaginable 2 months ago. Now, the obsession of the West with Muslim fundamentalism is frankly not deserved. I think that the political Islam is a factor in this, but not the only factor. I don't think people will accept departing from despotism to come back to theocracy. That's my sense. I think they will fight very hard for what they have acquired.
Okay, one country that has been rather spared from all the turmoil is your country, Morocco. Why?
Well, first of all, we wouldn't. Nobody wants turmoil for his country, so it's a good thing we were spared turmoil. But
a people's revolution.
But being sheltered from political demands is something else, and I think no country in the region will be sheltered. Now, that much we have in common with the region, but we do have certain assets. And the assets is that we have a culture of tolerance. We have structures of political bargaining which are there. They have been marginalized for a long time. They have problems. Leaderships have problems with their bases. So all this, of course, needs to be re-energized. And, of course, we have a monarchical system which is legitimate. So people are going to... My sense is that people are going to push for reform. That is the constitutionalization of the monarchy.
Because right now the king has nearly all the powers in Morocco. Do you think that should change?
Well, if you're asking me a normative question, I would tell you that as someone who believes in democracy, yes, I feel, and it's my opinion, only my opinion, that seeing the monarchy progress and become a constitutional monarchy is something essential for the political development of the country. But that, again, is only my opinion.
But is that happening or not quickly enough?
That is, historically, over the past 50 years, this is a problem that's been at the center of political debates, and it has happened in an uneven, in a kind of facilitating back and forth way, but not decisively, I would say.
But do you think now could be a change, that seeing what happens? It
is very hard to say the future, but if pressure is mounted, my sense is it would be the only way to advance. And frankly, it would be in the interest of the country and in the interest of the survival of the monarchy in the long run.
Right. I mean, speaking of pressure, this Sunday, February 20th, there's been calls through social networks, Facebook and so on, to have a day of protests. What's your opinion on that?
What's my personal opinion? Well, if you're asking me whether I support it, I support any initiative, any demand, organized, collective and individual that calls for reforming our political system, doing it specifically and doing it in a way that accepts the existence of other opinions. So in that sense, yes, I adhere to these demands and to this movement. I have been extremely impressed from what I saw on YouTube, a segment, and I invite you to see that segment. I have been extremely impressed by the call, by the quality of the message, by the quality of the agenda. It indicates to me political sophistication, dignity, and astuteness. And this is in sharp contrast with what the political scene today in our country is providing us.
I mean, do you think the regime will accept such protests? And
look, of course, let's be frank. First of all, no regime is monolithic. There are parts in the regime that will want to see gradual change. Others will feel that resistance is a safe way to go. All in all, you have to understand these are tense moments because this is coming as a surprise to everybody. So there is anxiety. But in the longer run, I would hope to see a steadfast movement towards the direction of meaningful change.
So in an ideal world, your cousin would become more like the King of Spain or the Queen of England?
In an ideal world, the monarchy would submit itself to constitutional rule, that is the rule of the people, and eventually become a symbol of the nation, a cement of the nation, and an institution of arbitration among all political actors that protects and facilitates the emergence of democracy. That's my ideal scenario.
Is it the only way for the monarchy to preserve itself?
That's my sense. Of course, other people will have other opinions. Other people will feel that, on the contrary, opening up the system is incompatible and exposes the institution to danger. That's an opinion that is there, and it's in traditional corners, and denying its existence is a political error. Okay,
Prince MoulayHicham El Alaoui, thank you very much for coming on the France 24 interview. Thank you all for watching it. Stay tuned for more news.